Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani and you're watching Firstpost. Now, what I've loved about sports always is how it brings different people together, how it puts a mighty force against the new kid on the block, how it tests mental strength more than just the physical skills. Today on the show, we might talk of some of the mighty teams fighting it out, the battle between the best. But as sport teaches us, it's also those vanquished who have a great tale to tell. So what's in store in our lineup? I'll tell you this, it's a lot of cricket and some football too. Indian men's cricket team faces their sternest test when they take on Australia in a 3 ODI series. It starts on the 22nd of this month. Few big players will be rested, but it is the final few matches to get things right. Some last-minute addition or some tweaks that both sides will have to do before the World Cup. Cricket returns to the Asian Games and the women will start their quarter-final clashes from the 21st of September. Here's all that you need to know about the teams that are taking part in the Asian Games. India starts strong favourites. So lots lined up in the show today, but here's what's making all the headlines from around the world in Sports 360. Preparations are underway for the upcoming Men's Cricket World Cup. Grounds will need to have more grass and bigger boundaries, says the International Cricket Council to World Cup hosts India. This is to even out the contest between the bat and the ball, with the possibility of heavy dew during this time in the country. Some more news from the ICC. The board has confirmed new venues for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup next year. It will be held in the United States, in New York, Florida and Texas. The tournament starts in June 2024. Bangladesh pacer Tanzim Hassan Shakib is being investigated by his country's cricket board. This after fans reported his Facebook posts for being offensive and degrading towards women. His post said a working woman loses her charm and destroys her family. Tanzim Hassan Shakib deleted that post after facing criticism from fans and women's rights groups. Over in football, Spain's women's national management has forced the protesting players to rejoin the team. They were threatened with sanctions by Spain's Football Federation. Players Aitana Bonmati and Alexia Putellas were seen at a practice session after threatening to boycott earlier. However, protests in Spain continue after the World Cup kissing controversy. And some not so happy dark news from the Champions League. AC Milan and Newcastle United's game ended in a draw. But what followed was shocking. One Newcastle United fan was stabbed by 7 to 8 AC Milan fans. And back home in India, for the first time ever, a MotoGP race will be held here at the Budh International Circuit near India's capital, Delhi. However, some top riders are facing visa issues which has delayed their arrival. World number 5, the Aprilia rider Alex Espargaro, is facing a delay in getting his visa. Honda's Spanish rider Marc Marquez is also facing a delay. Organizers, though, say the delays have been caused by technical issues. The race is scheduled on the 24th of September. Well, let's start the show with cricket. These are last weeks before all attention will revert to the World Cup that is set to take place in India. So every team is getting their combinations in place. And these last few matches will be the perfect opportunity for all those gaps to be filled and tweaks to be made so that teams put their best foot forward. Now for India, the series against Australia is going to be the perfect curtain raiser for both these sides. India is coming off a win in the Asia Cup, a tournament that was usually a T20 affair. But what was turned into a 50-over format, considering this to be a World Cup year. India wasn't really tested in the tournament, but they did tick a few boxes that were worrying them, like KL Rahul's form. Though India is not completely out of the woods as far as its middle order is concerned. Shreyas Iyer is yet to get a game and announce his return. But Rahul's 100 would have calmed some minds. Australia also has its share of worries. Firstly, the loss against South Africa. They were leading the series 2-0 before they relinquished control and lost the series 2-3. Something they wouldn't be all too pleased with. They have injury concerns with Travis Head. Marnus Labuschagne has been called up in his place. Their pace attack also has some worries. Skipper Pat Cummins has not played a single one-day international this year, nor has Mitchell Starc since the India tour. Josh Hazlewood isn't looking at his very best either. Now let's take a look at the fixtures then. Now India plays Australia in Mohali first. It's a fabulous stadium. I've been there. It's a slightly flattish track. So enough runs on the cards with the pace attack coming into play. They next move to Indore. That's where the second one-dayer is played. Again, not a track that normally turns. The third one-dayer will be held in Rajkot. Well, that famous press box there, symbolic of the Lord's copy. But it's a massive stadium that will have something for everyone to make it an exciting contest. Now, to shed more light on this contest, let's cross over to one man who has been an integral part of the Indian squad in the past. He's former India fielding coach R. Sridhar, joining us from Hyderabad. Welcome to Firstpost, Coach.
Hi, Rupha, and it's a pleasure to be there on Firstpost, sharing my thoughts and views, and wishing you all the very best on your new journey.
Thank you so much, Coach. The very first question that I have to ask you is, obviously the selection, the team was selected, was announced for the Australia 3 ODI series. Your thoughts on Ashwin's inclusion and how important is a presence of someone like Ashwin in India's World Cup setup?
Look, honestly, I was a little surprised at Ashwin's inclusion because I thought they announced the World Cup squad and I didn't see it coming, honestly. Although I quite second it because I didn't see Ashwin's inclusion coming in the ODI series versus Australia. But I think Ashwin's presence in a dressing room is invaluable. I mean, he's someone who thinks 360 degrees when he's part of a cricket match, and he's quite ahead of the game as far as his thought process is concerned. At least, well, I used to talk to him. That is the feeling I got. So having Ashwin in the change room is always going to be beneficial, no matter which team it is.
The other sort of person we have to speak about is one name that was excluded from a unit that he was already a part of, which is Sanju Samson. Again, someone we know, we've seen the talent and the promise that he holds in that batting lineup. How big a miss is it to not have someone like Sanju Samson? Do you think that he should have been included at least in this Australia series, if not the World Cup?
Yeah, it comes as a surprise because he went for the Asia Cup as a backup to KL Rahul. I think just the fact that KL Rahul is fully fit now, and he may want to keep wickets in all the 3 games, going by the fact that he hasn't played international cricket for quite a bit now. So he may want more and more game time. And with Ishan Kishan being there in the squad as well, they thought maybe they thought that there's no place for Sanju in that combination. And Sanju has been left out. But having said that, you feel for Sanju, someone who's got a very decent one-day average at a very decent strike rate. Unfortunately, there's so much talent in India, that has been the boon and the bane for Indian cricket, I would say. But yeah, I feel sorry for Sanju, but it is how it is, and he has to keep moving on.
Sridhar, we always talk about India-Pakistan rivalry, but what about India-Australia? You've been part of that core dressing room. What were the talks like about them taking on a side, about India taking on a side like Australia?
I mean, that's a big rivalry. I mean, India-Pakistan rivalry, yes, is huge emotionally for the country. And in my opinion, India has always had a upper hand in that rivalry. If you see the scoreline, our scores are way ahead. Obviously, 1 or 2 games, occasionally we lose. It's a sport. But India-Australia rivalry, there is a lot of mutual respect. There's a lot of mutual respect. And the quality of cricket, in my opinion, is really high. Right up there with the best cricket that one can ever watch on television or live. Going by what I have seen and felt in the dressing room, players make their own plans. I remember once, just before the 2015 World Cup semi-final, I remember Dhoni once telling the team in one of those talks that when you play against the Aussies, you have to play against their ego. You have to make them play on their ego. That is something which we spoke about. And I think the players are very sharp. Someone like a Kohli is very sharp to catch the weaknesses of the Australians, and he has their pulse. He knows when to go after them. And we have, as a team, did realize that you have to get under the skin and go after them, play a very aggressive brand of cricket against them. And that is what Kohli has done against Australia, and he's been really able to succeed enormously against that team and also get under the skin in terms of irritating them. Rishabh Pant was someone who's always successful against Australia because he took the attack to them. So was Bumrah. So is Ashwin, for all you know, very aggressive in his mindset and in his bowling plans. He knows in and out of the Aussies how they play. So although there is mutual respect for the quality of cricket, but tactically they're always fighting for the one-upmanship. Lot of talks in the change room about usko kahan khelna hai, isko kaisa khelna hai, isko kaisa khelna hai, about how they are mentally as individual, as a team. But always what we speak against Australia is ego. Make them play against their ego. That is something which you always speak, and that's something I remember.
Rohit, you mentioned Virat and Ravi had this whole thing of being aggressive, and you have to be aggressive to take it to the Aussies. What sort of a captain do you see Rohit to be in the same position?
I think, make no mistake, Rohit is also very aggressive. I think sometimes we tend to, look at people's body language and we can't get enough of their mindset. Rohit is as aggressive as any captain you would want. He's aggressive with his bowling moves. If you see the other day when Siraj was bowling, what fields he had. I mean, that shows the kind of aggression he's got. So he would go down hard as well. He also knows, and he's been part of those series wins, and he knows exactly how to approach a game against the Aussies. So he will go all guns blazing when he's playing against the Aussies as well. Very aggressive. You may not see it on the camera, but definitely he will be very aggressive as well in terms of his approach and in terms of his plans, his game plans and his tactics, which is what will shine through. And Rohit obviously is in a good space now. Indian team generally, if you see, once the ICC trophies come, they really lift themselves. Obviously, we have stumbled at the last hurdle, but the ICC trophies, I think, bring the best out of the Indian team. So you will see some excellent cricket in the lead up to it, which is what we are talking about now, the India-Australia series.
Well, to wrap up this particular conversation, what are the little mini battles that you're looking for? Of course, it's India versus Australia, but the little battles between bat and ball that you're very keenly that we are going to witness and that you probably would call. Are there any grudges there that we can look forward to?
Well, there will be a lot of grudges there. There will be a lot of players who want to say, like, I've got to get one-upmanship on this player. I'm looking for battles like Bumrah versus Smith. I'm looking for battles like Ashwin versus Warner in this series. And going forward, let's see how that goes. I'm looking for battles like Siraj versus Labuschagne. That's going to be very interesting. I'm looking for battles like Shami versus, Head is not there anymore. But, some of those top order batters like a Cameron Green or like a Mitch Marsh, Shami versus Mitch Marsh, that's going to be interesting. I'm looking at how the Aussie middle order are going to handle Kuldeep in the last ODI. Kuldeep is not there for the first two games. But I'm looking at how Ravindra Jadeja is going to be as a vice captain of the team. Obviously, Rahul, great finisher. He's had some great performances against Australia in ODIs in India. Looking for how he's going to be against the likes of the Cummins, the Starks. And I'm looking at Stark versus Rohit Sharma. That's going to be a very interesting battle. Stark versus Gill. I'm really looking forward to those battles. And Adam Zampa against Virat Kohli is another battle. Obviously, I'm looking forward in the last game of the series.
All right. Thank you so much, Sridhar, for joining us and with your thoughts. I'm sure we're all excited for the series, and we'll see how this plays out.
So am I, and wishing you all the best covering the series.
Right, and India-Australia clash is always going to give us some amazing moments for sure. Yes, it's the big contest, but what are the mini battles within the encounter? The first involves our comeback man. That's David Warner and R. Ashwin. Now, they have hardly faced each other in the ODI format. So, in the shortest one, what does it look like? Yes, 38 runs is what David Warner has managed, and he's gotten out twice. Of course, Ashwin has dismissed Warner more than 10 times in the test format. So that'll be an exciting clash. The other battle that we would love to watch, and it probably will play out in the third match is Virat Kohli versus Adam Zampa. The spinners had Virat's number on a few occasions. 230 runs Virat has managed to score, and he's gotten out 5 times. And then the interesting face-off, captain versus captain. We love such battles. Rohit Sharma versus Pat Cummins. 160 runs is what he's managed. He struggled a bit with his strike rate, 73 there, and has gotten out a couple of times to Pat. Now let's wait and watch how these battles play out. Welcome to the fresh segment, Eyes on Eves, we're calling it. It's a focus on all the women in sports. And today, it's the women's cricketers. Cricket has returned to the Asian Games. After a gap of nearly 10 years, cricket has made fleeting appearances at multi-sport, multi-nation events. It made its first ever appearance at the 1998 Commonwealth Games. Women's cricket, of course, made it to the Commonwealth Games only in 2022. It featured in the Asian Games twice, 2010 and 2014, both men's and cricket teams. Now India had not sent in their squads in the earlier editions. The women's squad was represented last year for the Commonwealth Games, and they finished with silver, losing to Australia in the final. And this year at the Asiad, both of the Indian men's and women's squads will be seen in action. We'll talk of the women's cricket as they play first. Format is such that there are 9 teams and they play T20 matches. 5 of them are through to the quarterfinals. That's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Thailand. And the remaining 4 played amongst each other to determine who they will face in the quarters. The quarterfinals will knock off on the 21st September. Now let's look at the top 5 teams, starting with India. Now, Harmanpreet Kaur is the skipper, all right, but because of the 2-match suspensions that she was docked after that flare-up during the series against Bangladesh, Smriti Mandhana will lead the side. Now India is ranked number 4 in T20 format. Played their first one-day international in 1978, have made it to the finals of 3 ICC events. Finalist at the Commonwealth Games 2022, as we mentioned. They are the favourites here. But the other teams are closing in, even though they are not as highly ranked as India or have the same pedigree of talent. Now Pakistan, let's look at them next. Captain is Nida Dar. They're ranked number 7 in the T20 format. They played their first one-day international in 1997. Can't take this team too lightly, even though India has had the better off in their challenges or face-offs. The next team you're looking at, Sri Lanka. Of course, Chamari Atapattu leading the side really well. They're ranked number 8 in the T20 format, played their first one-day international in 1997. Secured their first ever series win against England this year. What a fantastic win that was, almost bridging the gap between the best and some of the rest coming up. Now the next side we want to look at is Bangladesh, captained by Nigar Sultana. Had a fabulous series against India recently. Bangladesh ranked, of course, number 9 in the T20 format. Played their first one-day international in 2011. Finalists at Asiad 2010 and 2014. Now we want to look at some of the other sides as well. Thailand ranked number 12 in the T20 format. Captain is Narumol Chaiwe. They've played their first ODI, the first one-day national, only in 2022, qualified for the semi-final of the Women's T20 Asia Cup last year. Now let's look at the other 4 teams who sort of battled it out to make it to the quarters alongside the rest. Starting with Indonesia, Captain Wayan Suryani. They, of course, are ranked number 21 in the T20 format. The ICC granted full World T20 status in 2018 to this nation. Indonesia made their international debut in 2019. Fabulous story. Let's move on then to the next team. That's Hong Kong. That's captained by Kerry Chan. They, of course, are ranked 22 in the T20 format. Made their international debut way back in 2006. Some sort of an experience there. Reached quarterfinals in the 2014 Asian Games and were included in the Women's T20 World Cup Asia qualifiers in 2021. The other team, the next team that we want to look at is Malaysia. They're ranked number 27 in the T20 format. Of course, captain is Winifred Dureisingham. They made their debut in 2006, included in Women's T20 World Cup Asia qualifiers in 2021. The Malaysia Cricket Association recently awarded the central contracts to 15 women in 2021. Big news and big development there for women's cricket in Malaysia. The last team we want to, of course, talk about, the last squad. It's a personal one. They've really reached out to my heart. Mongolian cricket team. Now, the Asia 2023, in fact, this year was the first international tournament that these group of women have ever played. They are a squad whose average age is 19. The first time they have left Mongolia to play cricket is this tournament. The team kit, in fact, was handed to them. They borrowed it from Australia, and the bats that they've used, just 4 of them, was donated to them by a French ambassador. A very heartwarming story coming out from the Asian Games as far as women's cricket is concerned. Now, the quarterfinal lineup has been decided then after all these matches that some of these last 4 teams played with each other. So on the 21st September, mark your calendar for that one, India will take on Malaysia and Pakistan will of course take on Indonesia. The next set of quarterfinals will be on the 22nd of September, quarterfinal 3. Sri Lanka will play Thailand and Bangladesh will take on Hong Kong. Of course, the winners will then step up to play the top 4. So a lot of exciting cricket. So mark your calendar and don't miss that one. Now, after all that cricket, we want to round this off with all the football action that's happened from the Champions League. Remember, this is the last time this format will be in play. There will be 36 teams from the 32 that was in action from next year onwards. Manchester City is looking to defend their title. Here's a wrap of all the top results from late last night.
Barcelona secured a comprehensive 5-0 win over Antwerp in the UEFA Champions League group stage. João Felix netted the first goal for Barca in the 11th minute. Robert Lewandowski contributed with a goal in the 19th. Antwerp's woes worsened after one of their defenders scored an own goal. Then in the second half, Gavi netted the ball in the 54th, and Felix's second goal in the 66th minute sealed the thumping victory for Barcelona.
The first 20 minutes was really equal because we didn't do well the high pressure. From 20 minute, 25th minute, I think we control all the game, we dominate the possession. We recover many balls in the opponent field. We did really well. We attack brilliant today in the positional attack. So I'm really happy, really satisfied. Our performance, I think it was the difference today. Of course, the players, the level of the players, but I think we deserve the victory.
Manchester City also started off on the right foot. They defeated Red Star Belgrade, known locally as Crvena Zvezda, 3-1 in their group stage match. Man City were 1-0 down after Osman Bukhari scored for Belgrade in the 45th minute. However, City gathered the momentum in the second half of the match. Julian Alvarez scored 2 second-half goals and one more came from Rodri.
After you lead against the best team in the half, you must calm the players and tell them to continue to play because we know that City in second half will press more and more. We concede early the first goal in the second half. But for me, we try to do everything. We try to play brave, we try to fight. It's very difficult. We try to press, but we didn't succeed because they moved the ball amazing. We fight, we do everything. We can look now to the mirror and say, we try to play. And I'm proud of our players. And we take this energy for the next game.
Moving on to Paris Saint-Germain, the French Giants beat Borussia Dortmund 2-0 in their group stage bout. The scoring began with Kylian Mbappe, who put in a goal on a penalty in the 49th minute. The second goal for PSG came in the 58th minute from Achraf Hakimi.
Well, that's all we have time for on Firstpost. But as always, before we say goodbye, we thought of leaving you with what we call as the last serve. You're familiar with that now. It's a sort of like a parting shot. So what will you do with a bunch of bottle caps? You're most likely to throw it away. Now see what a fan does with it, and it's magic. fandom that football enjoys and a lot of the footballers enjoy is absolutely incredible. Well, thanks for watching First Sports. We hope you enjoyed this as always. Goodbye, take care, and we'll see you again tomorrow.